On the evening of July 25, 2026, Berlin's streets were filled with music. For one night, politics and differences were set aside as hundreds of thousands of people gathered to celebrate freedom under rainbow flags. This celebration traces its origins to the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in New York. What began as a series of protests on Christopher Street evolved into a global movement for dignity and protection under the law, a movement Berlin embraced as a symbol of its own survival and reunification. But at the moment the celebration reached its peak, everything changed. Just before 10 p.m., witnesses near the Brandenburg Gate watched a white van accelerate directly into the pedestrian crowd. The music stopped, replaced by screams. Panicked crowds fled in every direction as dispatch centers were flooded with emergency calls, forcing an immediate shutdown of one of Germany's largest public celebrations. In a city that prides itself on being one of Europe's safest capitals, the attack instantly shattered the sense of invulnerability that usually defines summer in Berlin. The manhunt ended 24 hours later in the Spandau district, when special police units confronted 21-year-old Abdul Balut. He charged at them with a weapon. Officers opened fire, and Balut died at the scene. Investigators quickly discovered that Balut was not a ghost in the system. He was a German citizen who had previously been convicted for distributing ISIS propaganda and had been flagged by law enforcement for attempting to travel to Syria to join extremist groups. This creates a difficult reality for investigators. A man already on the radar for extremist activity, with a documented history of radicalization, was still able to acquire a vehicle and strike a crowd in the heart of the capital. To understand why the existing safety net failed to catch him, we have to look past the physical crime scene and investigate the systemic blind spots in modern counterterrorism. The 2026 Pride attack was not an isolated incident. It was the latest chapter in a 10-year pattern of violence that has forced Germany to repeatedly rethink its security policies. In 2016, an ISIS-inspired truck attack at this Berlin Christmas market killed 12 people. In the aftermath, Germany expanded counterterrorism operations, strengthened intelligence sharing between states, and increased surveillance of known extremists. But by 2019, the threat shifted. An attacker targeted this synagogue in Halle. When he couldn't break through the doors, he murdered 2 people outside, proving that extremism was no longer tied to a single identifiable group or ideology. Months later in Hanau, a gunman killed 9 people in an attack motivated by far-right ideology. Investigators were now facing a multi-front war involving Islamist extremists, far-right actors, and individuals radicalized entirely online. These post-2016 reforms were designed to dismantle organized terror cells and track physical movements. They were less effective against the decentralized, solitary threat that replaced them, a threat that lives primarily in the digital world. Modern extremism shifted to a digital battlefield where radicalization only requires a smartphone. Encrypted apps instantly expose individuals to extremist propaganda. As this chart shows, long plateaus of legal digital consumption offer no reliable indicators predicting when behavior suddenly spikes into a physical attack. This digital funnel works the same way for every ideology. Whether the content is far-right or Islamist, the mechanics of isolation and rapid influence remain identical. The result is a legal impasse. In a democratic society, the police cannot arrest a citizen purely for what they choose to watch or read online, even if that content is extremist in nature. Following the Pride attack, the response on Berlin's streets was immediate. Heavily armed police became a constant presence at transportation hubs and public squares. But the physical presence of officers couldn't mend the emotional toll. Celebrations were replaced by vigils, as residents mourned the victims and struggled with the loss of their baseline feeling of safety. For parents and event organizers, the attack introduced a new calculation. They are now forced to weigh the risks of gathering in large crowds against the desire to live in an open, social city. This is the core dilemma of an open democracy. The very freedoms the state is sworn to protect, privacy, free speech, and freedom of movement, are the same tools used to facilitate digital radicalization. To entirely eliminate the threat of the known wolf, the state would have to implement a level of total surveillance that would effectively end the democratic experiment. It leaves Berlin and the rest of the world with a question that has no easy answer. How much of our fundamental freedom are we willing to trade for the promise of physical safety?